Welcome to the POG Show. I'm your host, Christine Martindale, Public Information Officer for the City of Port Orange, a city in Central Florida that is unique by choice, not by chance. I will be bringing you powerful interviews and on-the-go info to gain a better understanding of the various services and functions our city provides. So let's get started. Hello, everyone, to episode 18 of the POG Show. Today I have with me in the podcast studio the city's Deputy City Manager, Jamie Miller. So for our listeners, I hope your year has been off to a great start. This is the first podcast episode in 2022, and what better way than to start off with talking with Jamie. So hi, Jamie. Thank you for taking your time out today.
Absolutely, Christine. So happy to be here. Hard to believe we're already into 2022.
I know. I was just thinking that. January came and went in the blink of an eye, and I really don't know where last month went, really. And so, but based on our conversation today, I guess listeners will know why. We've been extremely busy.
We certainly have.
So let's start. So first tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, where you grew up. And, I know you have quite the extensive resume here in the city of Port Orange.
Sure. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Jamie Miller. I am not born in Port Orange, but I have lived here my adult life. I am a graduate of Silver Sands Middle School and a graduate of Spruce Creek High School. Go Hawks. And after that, I did go on to Stetson University. I have my bachelor's degree in psychology, and then I went to UCF to get my master's degree. So that is in industrial and organizational psychology. I wouldn't say I set out to be in local government, but I'll tell you a little bit about how I ended up here. At that time, I was in grad school. I was working full-time at the hospital. I was driving to Orlando for school a couple days a week and had just found out I was actually pregnant with my first child, and I needed an internship. So I went the old-fashioned way and decided to beat the street and contact people in Port Orange, my hometown, to see if they were looking for an internship opportunity. And I was able to secure an internship unpaid with the city of Port Orange, and that was my first exposure to local government in the HR side of the world, and of course I fell in love. So fast forward a year or so, I completed my degree, and they happened to have a position that somebody left the organization in HR, so I came back and started my employment here going on 11 years ago now. Yes. Wow. So
it's gone by fast, huh?
It certainly has. You could have never told me. It's gone quickly. So I started as a payroll tech in the HR department and quickly took on additional HR tasks. I've also spent some time going through the finance on the budget side. I spent a year over in our finance department. I've done some risk management. Most recently, previous to this, I was in admin services. I was the administrative services director, which covers HR, IT, and risk management, and then recently promoted to deputy city manager after a temporary role as the acting city manager for a few months.
Whew. What a resume.
Yes.
How awesome. And, just to touch on internships, I'll put a plug in for that. I just think they're the best thing. I had 2 internships before I, got my first job. And, I remember sitting at the interview saying, okay, your college, all the schooling and your grades, great, but what have you done? And so there's something to say about internships. And you've had the luxury of growing your career here in the city of Port Orange. So that's just awesome.
Absolutely. I completed 2 internships prior to the one here at Port Orange, and it really, I feel like, helps people grow, learn a little bit about themselves, what they truly want to do, and it really helped me find my path in my career because I was going in a different direction. It was more psychology focused, so it's been great. We've actually had quite a few people come intern at the city that have ended up with employment, so I'm a big fan of interns as well.
Absolutely. You touched on in your previous role as administrative services director here at the city, and that was your previous role before you're, being promoted to deputy city manager. How was the transition from being the director for that department and now being a deputy city manager? Like, in other words, how do you see things differently? Do you see things in a different lens?
Sure. It's exciting. It's nerve-wracking at some times. It's big, but I think you hit the nail on the head that it's really about perspective. You know, whether you're using eyeglasses or a camera lens or a microscope or a telescope, you're looking through a different lens to see the world in a different way. And each tool is appropriate for what you're trying to do, and you definitely want to use the right one. But it's been a different lens. It's been great. You know, being on the admin services side was a little bit more internally focused on how do we serve our employees who serve our residents. Being as the deputy city manager, there's a little bit more direct drive to being able to serve the residents. It's still, you know, about the employees being able to do what they need to serve the residents as well, but I see it from a different lens as well, and it's been great. I've loved every moment of it.
Yeah, and you know you can tie on some strengths from that previous role into your new role and all that. So yeah, like you said, you know, like we both said, it's from a different perspective for sure. So let's maybe get into a little bit of maybe some of the main initiatives that you are currently working on in your new role as Deputy City Manager, if you could touch on those.
Sure, I'd be happy to. You know, this role is a little bit unique as it's about finding a lot of balance. So there is the day-to-day, and probably not unique, that's probably not the right word, but it's the finding the balance between the day-to-day. How do we make the budget fit? How do we make sure the agenda flows the way it's appropriately supposed to, and the information there is there to make the best decision, versus focusing on the larger items of how do we really make our organization serve our residents in the best way. So what I've really enjoyed about this position is that there's a healthy balance of both sides. So some of the things that we're doing currently that I haven't had a chance to previously dabble too much in that I've really enjoyed is we are working on relooking at our strategic plan. We have a workshop coming on the February 22nd where council is going to take a look at currently we have 6 goals that we take a look at and say, this is what we want to do to march forward in our future. This is the projects that we need to do, and this is how we define our success. So taking a look at those, saying, what do we need to do for the next 12 months, and how do they fit under those goals to make sure we're really focused on the right thing. So I've enjoyed that initiative. I've enjoyed working with the departments of going, okay, now that we know what our objectives are going to be, how do we define what that success looks like? So that's one thing I've been working on that I've enjoyed a lot. We just had a survey close with over, about 1,400 responses, trying to get the citizens' input on what's important to them. Other thing that I've had a little bit of an exposure to recently that's new for me that I've enjoyed is working with the legislator, working with up at Tallahassee to work through some projects, see if we can get some funding back here in Port Orange for some water sewer projects.
Yeah, and you were touching on February 22nd is when we'll have the workshop on the strategic plan. Well, just prior to that, and this is just a little plug for our listeners, is that we're going to be showing a State of the City 2022 State of the City address video that our staff has put together, and it really capitalizes on the accomplishments of what our city has done. And so I think it's a perfect segue into the strategic plan workshop. I think it'll be great. So for those who want to tune in, it's a great opportunity to see accomplishments our city's worked so hard over the last year, and then into our goals of the strategic plan.
Absolutely.
So I think it'll be great. You had talked about some of the main initiatives that you're currently working on. Does some of those associate with some of the main goals that maybe you'd like to achieve in your role as city manager?
I think that as the deputy city manager, it's really about removing obstacles and barriers and helping the departments be the most successful to see back to the perspectives, the different perspectives that we have to look at things through, whether it's evaluating the compliance behind, we have a lot of compliance and regulation we have to meet, whether it's meeting the budgets, the tight budgets that we're trying to work through, maintaining the infrastructure, and they all line up very nicely to those strategic goals. And that would be the idea, right? We want to focus on those things that truly bring value to our citizens. And that's one of the things that I'd like to see in the next year, and I know we do a good job with it, is we really want to make sure we're finding ways to engage those citizens. And I think the podcast that we're doing today is a great example of that. But how do we reach our citizens? How do we hear from them? Because that's what it's about, is we really want to provide the best place for our residents and our business owners to enjoy everything Port Orange has to offer.
Yes, and I totally, fully agree with you. And you and I work together as well, because we, there's always, being one person here, like, okay, the podcast, I think this was a great idea. We can maybe reach those younger, the younger generation with podcasts. We have a newsletter. We have Port Orange University. I know I've mentioned it on this podcast many times before. It's a way to engage with people, maybe not via social media, but face-to-face and through hearing and seeing, and all these different avenues that we can reach these citizens of Port Orange. And so that's great. What would you like our residents of Port Orange to know about you?
Oh, I would say that it may sound cliche, but I truly love this city. I love serving the residents. I love the people that I get to serve them with. We have some of the most outstanding staff, and we talk about what they do just makes such a difference. And don't get me wrong, every city, I'm sure, loves what they bring to the table, but I would stack our staff up against any one of them, and I'm so proud of the work that gets done each and every day. And we go about it in a way that you may not even realize how much goes into the work that they do to keep things running smoothly and efficiently. And I think they just do a great job.
Yeah. I was thinking about when you were talking about staff, absolutely, different city departments that we have. In fact, this coming weekend on February 19th, we have a ribbon cutting ceremony that our Parks and Rec staff is going to put together for the Airport Road Park playground. It was a Volusia County partnership that provided a $200,000 ECHO grant to help purchase playground equipment at Airport Road Park. And, this is just one example of the quality of life and one of the goals, right, that we want to accomplish. And so, for our listeners that want to stop by at 9 a.m. on February 19th at Airport Park, Road Park, it's that, working together. It's staff working together, it's citizens coming together, and look what we can provide our citizens with children there at the playground.
Absolutely, and you may even get to see me try out the zip line
if
you join us. So
I know,
I'm really
excited about that. Oh, me too. I'll be there for sure. And so if residents want to reach out to you, how can they reach out? I was thinking more probably the Citizen Tracker.
Yeah, if you go to our website and you go under City Manager, there'll be an area that you'll see my picture on the right-hand side, and it'll say contact the Deputy City Manager, but email's always great, phone's always great. I try to get out and about once in a while, and we like to go to HOAs and try to meet people, and so any way, probably email is going to be the most successful way, but reaching out is important. Getting involved is important. It's a great city, and let's be a part of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Is there anything else that you would like to mention? Nothing. And we kind of covered a lot, and I know you have just such an important role being under our city manager Wayne Clark, and you've brought great value to this position. And wanted to see if there's anything else you wanted to mention.
I would say don't hesitate to ask. Reach out, educate. We're here to help, truly, as for all of our residents, all of our businesses. We don't always have the answers, but we're a good place to start. And I don't want our residents to ever feel like they can't just come ask the question. And I hope what they find is staff that's willing to help them find the answers. I know the council's responsive, the staff is responsive, so don't just wonder. We're here to help.
Absolutely. Jamie, I really appreciate your time to provide us a little bit more insight about you, what you have going on, and of course, how you want to help make this city just a great place to work play and live. So again, thank you, Jamie. Of course, the best ways to find the city is by the city's website, www.port-orange.org, the city's Facebook page, Port Orange City Hall, our Twitter page at City Port Orange, and our LinkedIn page, City of Port Orange. This podcast, The POG Show, can be found on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Well, this wraps up episode 18 of The POG Show. Until next time. Thank you so much for spending time with me today on The POG Show. We've only just begun, and with you sharing, subscribing, and leaving a 5-star review for this podcast is really going to help launch us to the next level together.